Disclaimer, this podcast discusses mental health. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're struggling with your mental health, please remember it's okay to ask for help and seek the appropriate help through a qualified healthcare professional.
Welcome back to the podcast where we ask the question, what makes you happy? My name is Jake Pearson, and our guest today is a serial entrepreneur focused on the creator economy. They have built one of the largest influencer marketplaces in North America, growing it to more than 500,000 content creators, and his newest platform is the LinkedIn equivalent for content creators. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Creatorland, Brian FREEMAN from Los Angeles, California. Mate, how you doing?
Jake, it's great to be here. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
This is incredible. And as a creator myself, I'm very interested in yourself and your journey and the things that make you happy. So would you mind starting with that, Brian? What does make you happy?
I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I live every day. Sometimes feels like all day, every day is work. So I kind of like to bucket them in two things. So the personal side and then the business side, and sometimes they overlap. I think one thing we were talking about before the show started that I thought was a great reminder of something that makes me happy is when I can talk to other people who've gone through similar struggles to me. You know, like it can feel very isolating, very lonely to be a CEO, especially, but also an entrepreneur. And when you have a group of other people around you who are going through similar stuff, and just there's nothing like an hour-long call of being able to vent and where you know you're not going to offend somebody, and you're like, and you know they're in it just like you, and they want you to win, and they're down to hear you complain. And sometimes you just need that. And like sometimes the way I feel after talking to one of my friends like that, it's just super cathartic, and it allows you to kind of go into the next thing, especially with your family, with a little less stress and a little less anxiety. So that's one thing that makes me happy. And then on the family side, you know, the pandemic started me working from home, and we had a kid during the pandemic. So I've got a 20-month-old son, and getting to be with him and my wife is nothing like it.
I love it. And I relate so heavily to the first thing you said, not the second half because I don't have a son, but I do have a dog, and he came and started living with me post-COVID. But yeah, like feeling almost isolated because you can't talk about the things that are stressing you out. And so it's so important, the work that you're doing with Creatorland, isn't it? Bringing people together that share common experience to help them feel less stressed and more happy with what they're doing.
Some makes me happy talking to my friends and being able to unpack. Then being with my family, being a little bit less, carrying the burden of the day because of something like that. And then the third thing is working on something where, I mean, for me, I found early on, I wasn't really good in a 9-to-5 setting. Frustrate the heck out of my managers because I was always like doing extra, and they're like, you know, just you're doing too much, you know, like type thing. But being able to work on something where, like our conversation before this, where that you hit a nerve and you're filling a void that people really need, and you can see someone feel like, oh man, if that existed or when that exists, it's going to really make my life better. Honestly, there's nothing more fulfilling in working on something that genuinely helps people. So I think, and that's why I do what I do, and why so many of us do things we do.
Absolutely. Now, just on that, what would your advice be to content creators who currently feel isolated and unhappy?
Yeah, it's definitely something that we want to make much easier to do with Creatorland. Right now, it's not easy. It can be very nerve-wracking to like ping someone with like the idea of like what feels like a friend request. It's a weird feeling. So one thing you can do, not to be too promotional, we do have a community Discord at Creatorland where we want people to feel like they can connect and share. But the other thing would be to don't be super afraid to send an email to somebody's email in bio saying like, hey, I'd love to chat with you and talk about strategy. Like it looks like we have a similar niche, or I'm trying to get better attention on my YouTube content, and I love the way that you do your intro. I was wondering if you'd be down to grab a Zoom with me and talk about what I'm doing, and let me ping you with a couple questions. I mean, in the business world day to day, this kind of stuff happens constantly. And in the future, it will happen with content creators more often too. But I would say don't be afraid to reach out, because people are down to have combos. It's just that nobody's doing it.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what you and I have done here in a way. we reached out to each other, and look, we're having this beautiful conversation around happiness, and who knows what's going to happen from this moment on for both yourself and I. So, Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk all things that make you happy, and your up and coming project, Creatorland, super exciting for you. That's super exciting for me too, because I get to see that grow. Anything else you'd like to share with the listeners before we part?
I think we're good. If you do want to sign up for Creatorland, creatorland.com. Otherwise, go out there and be happy.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Brian. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. We hope it gives you something to think about on your quest to discover what makes you happy. Make sure to check out whatmakesyouhappypodcast.com to connect with today's guest and follow us on all our social media platforms, and to stay up to date at what's happening next at What Makes You Happy. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and we'll see you next time.